Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about, are quiet quitters affecting the gig economy? There's a new trend going around, and that is the concept of quiet quitting. And no, it's actually not what it sounds like, but it is causing a wave of change in the business world and can and has affected us already. So in this video, I want to talk about what quiet quitting is, why it's a thing, what aspects of the gig economy it is affecting, and if we should be doing the same thing. So with that said, let's start with the first thing. What is quiet quitting? Like I said, it's not what it sounds like, where somebody quits their job, they no call, no show, no resignation letter, no notice, and they just ghost the job they were once a part of. That's not what quiet quitting is. Quiet quitting is when people are just at the point where they're giving the absolute bare minimum to their job. They won't buy into the concept of hustle culture. They have this overall stale attitude. They arrive just on time, not early. They leave as soon as they're able to. And they only do enough work in the job to keep it, and they're not doing any more. They're just meeting the minimum requirements. Now, the concept itself isn't actually all that new. It was also known as ghosting, but then got rebranded into quiet quitting. In fact, this has been a thing for so long that only 36% of people are actually engaged with their jobs anymore, which kind of makes sense, because why would you want to work extra hard for that extra 2% raise that doesn't really equate to anything tangible? Not to mention, with inflation and everything else, it's just insane that these companies think that 2 or 3% is actually going to keep people on the job. Why is quiet quitting a thing? Now, the point of this movement is kind of to just unsubscribe from the concept of hustle culture and to express that work isn't your life and you want an actual healthy work-life balance. Overall, quiet quitting is a step before actually quitting, and for all of the common reasons you can think of: burnout, career stagnancy, career changes, toxic work cultures, dissatisfaction with leadership's failure to promote diversity, equality, equity, and inclusion. And there's plenty more reasons. Those are just a few of them that I found. What quiet quitting is not. Now, I do want to be clear, quiet quitting is not doing nothing. At the end of the day, it's going to get them fired, and that is kind of ruining the point of having a work-life balance, because they won't have a life if they can't pay for it. These people are still fulfilling their duties as they're supposed to, and they're not completely checked out. They're just the step before checking out. They're just doing the bare minimum. Now, sometimes the bare minimum isn't really enough to actually promote a productive workday, but that's really the fault of the companies for not properly treating them like human beings. And like I said, I really can't blame quiet quitters for wanting to do it. If you're an employee, that kind of makes sense. But how does this affect the gig economy? We don't have the same work environments that most workers do, right? So let's talk about that. Restaurants and merchants. Easily the most notorious for manipulative and toxic environments out there. They are already very underpaid, sometimes even less than minimum wage, depending on the agreement they've had with their bosses. These people are just doing what they're supposed to, not showing any emotion, and then they are leaving when the shift is over. But the problem is that restaurants require workers to be working hard, especially when they're dealing with the public, getting Karens that are gonna flip out on them for no reason, dealing with gig workers that are shoving phones in their faces. Let's be honest, there are some that really know how to piss off restaurants. These quiet quitters will have the shortest lifespan of work in this mindset, because they will likely quit long before they diagnose that they're quiet quitting. They will find another job in the same industry that pays them just as much for barely an interview at that point. But it does affect us, because it will lead to longer wait times, and sometimes restaurants will have to shut down because they are understaffed. There's this restaurant over here in South Florida. This Greek restaurant has to close almost every day because the owner is basically the only one in there, and she's such a toxic person overall that no one wants to be hired by her. And this is costing her so much money, she can't even pay the workers that are actually working there. The companies we drive for, we're talking about Doordash, UberEats, Grubhub, and Instacart. They are all tech companies, and they are notorious for having toxic work environments, chronic burnout, limited career progression, and unrealistic demands, which is going to prompt these tech industry employees to just jump ship. Honestly, do you blame someone for not wanting to live a toxic lifestyle? You would think this also means that you would see a lot of lag time for glitches in the software and having support and chat agents that are not actually doing their job, and there's going to be a lag in actually solving issues in the gig economy. But the fact of the matter is, it's already a problem. Now we're just going to be seeing more blatant disrespect from the most useless people in the world, with more glitches and longer glitches, and having more problems for gig workers in the gig economy. The last glitch that happened on Doordash that was so bad that it actually cost them, I think it's a few $1,000,000 that actually cost them at the end of the day, because people were just getting free food like crazy. I actually made a video covering all about that. I'll leave it in the description. Feel free to check it out. Talk about the gig workers themselves. I think the definition of quiet quitting is something I felt a close relation to when I was working for jobs that I wasn't happy with. I was overworked, I was underpaid, I had abusive bosses, I've been promised promotions that I've never gotten, I've been lied to, I've been manipulated, etc. Honestly, if I was still a W-2 employee, I would probably do the same thing. Just meet the minimum requirements and just go home, because that's not the type of lifestyle I would want. Here's the reality of a gig worker. When you don't have an order, the minimum expectations is nothing. You can literally sit all day for an order, receive nothing good, and that's it. You've still met your expectations, because we don't have any as far as the company is concerned. But Joe, there are expectations when you're on a delivery. You're absolutely right. Pick up food, drop off food. That's the minimum. People aren't going beyond that, and some haven't done so at all. How often do you have to text a customer when there's no problems at all? How often do you take bad orders when it doesn't make sense to? How often has somebody from DoorDash actually called you down and said, hey, we need you to fill out this paperwork? And that's never happened. A lot of people who have left those toxic jobs I was talking about before entered the gig economy and haven't been happier, because people are generally happier working independently rather than working with toxic environments with people they don't like. Now, there is one thing I do have to say about the quiet quitting movement. This does not work for entrepreneurs in the gig economy. People who are starting a business on the side that will eventually become sustainable from putting in the extra work, or doing whatever it takes, waking up early, staying late, and doing what it takes to win. It is really hard to switch from high effort business guy and low effort employee over and over again. Almost not possible to do so. Want to know one of the hidden secrets to sales? An okay salesperson works on the clock. A great salesman never actually stopped. They're always looking for new opportunities to make a sale, grow, and they're always researching new ways to grow. Because those people are paid on commission, they're not paid for their time. If you're an entrepreneur in the gig economy, then just keep hustling, and eventually you can leave without ever having to return if you don't want to. The new great resignation. Quiet quitting is that step before everybody ends up quitting their jobs. And this is just a theory, but I believe that there's going to be a huge drop in the people that are actually going in as employees, and more gig workers coming into the gig economy. So that way, eventually, they don't have to work for a boss that doesn't appreciate them either. Now, let me ask you, did I miss anything? What do you think of the quiet quitting movement? Let me know in the comments. Let's make sure that all thoughts are heard about the concept of quiet quitting and how people are responding to it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!